be frank, because he can take out his frustrations at another time. He can go to the stewards and complain about what Richard did, but to do what he did do, and I think what he was trying to do was take the door mirror off that Nissan as just a point to say, I've got you, guy, don't you forget about what you did to me.
So, Lucas Luhr, the race leader. Let's get back to the important business for the rest of these 27.5 minutes competing for the RAC Tourist Trophy. In second place, Alex Muller, the lead two, swapping around at the pit stops. Making a gain and up into third place, Clivio Piccioni at Hexus Aston Martin. Christoph Nygaard, after changing with Vanina Ricks, early stop, remember, for the Belgian racing team. They came in a lap ahead of everyone else. Nygaard has got himself up now into fourth place. Andy Zuber is down to fifth. Warren Hughes handed over to Enrique Benoldi. That Nissan is now up into sixth place. Then is car number 21, the other Sumo Power Nissan of David Brabham, who's currently behind the wheel there. In eighth place at the moment, and remember they were down in 12th before the pit stop, so Hexus having a great job here. Andrea Piccini, and that's the Richard Westbrook Peter Dunbrake Nissan being dragged away. Currently in ninth place, Maxime Martin in the Mark VDS Ford. In 10th place, Michael Rossi. That car has lost about 5 places during the pit stops, that Corvette. Mark Henrici is in the other Mark VDS Ford in 11th. Marcus Winkelhock in the Lamborghini, the all-inclusive Lamborghini, runs 12th. Dominic Schwager runs in 13th. And then car number 10 in 14th, Marcus Pautala in the other Belgian racing car. So that's one down to 14 that are still running.
Yeah, the big losers in those round of pit stops clearly were the two Al Enkel Lamborghinis. They were running in the top 10, and Mark Basing was doing a good job. Pastorelli seemed to struggle, but both had poor pit stops and have dropped now. The Basing car to 12th place with Marcus Winkelhock in it, and the Pastorelli car to 13th with Dominic Schwager in it.
Car number 3 is third, handily, Clivio Piccioni, taking over from Stepp Dusseldorp, and it was the back end of that Aston Martin yesterday that had to be rebuilt. Well, just for something different tonight, it's the front end. Yeah,
and there's a lot of work around the front end of any of these front engine cars, because you've got substructures, subframes, mountings for radiators, brake ducts. I mean, it is a mess when they get damaged like that.
And no indication yet that the safety car will be coming in the end of this lap, but if they have now cleared the two stationary vehicles, by the time we actually get to the end of the lap, we might be in a position where the safety car can get out of the way and we can get racing again.
It should not be too long, because once the track has been cleared, so it looks like it could be coming. I'm waiting to get confirmation, but it could be coming in actually at the end of this lap.
And you've got there the two Nissan, the two Sumo Power Nissans, and yes, the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, with the pit window now closed, of course. Enrique Benoldi ahead of David Brabham. Well, David Brabham will be hoping now from 7th place, and remember, this car started on the 7th row, that he can make up some good places once we get the restart.
But he's got to go away past Enrique Benoldi, his fellow Nissan driver, but interesting to see just what Lucas Luhr can do, who was very impressive in the sprint race yesterday.
Let's hear from Richard Westbrook now, down with Haley.
Richard, very disappointing. Obviously, you're disappointed as well. Tell us what's gone on out there.
Well, you know, we're out there racing. That's what we're here to do. That's what all the sponsors are here to see. Lots of children in the garage, you see that, and what I just experienced, I mean, really shouldn't happen. I've never seen anything like it. I made what I thought was a good move on Stefan. Of course, he doesn't see me, never does. So he spun off, and then I'm going slowly down the straight because I got damage, and he's just driven straight into me. And I can't really speak for him. I mean, yeah.
Thank you, Richard.
Well, that was how it looked to me watching it first off, as now the Aston Martin trying to dive past Lucas Luhr, and he's managed to do it. Alex Muller regains the lead, and look at that, Clivio Piccioni might just be able to take second place as well. There's contact made to the back end of that Nissan. Applause from the Aston Martin garage, and Clivio Piccioni, in trying to make a move up in a second, has now lost a couple of places, and he's stuck behind Enrique Benoldi.
Well, that was a clever move by Piccioni in the one hand. Lucas Luhr comes back, dives on the inside of Muller into Brooklands, gets the job done, and he's taken back the lead.
So the lead changing hands twice in the space of 3 corners, and now being shunted along, Lucas Luhr, by Alex Muller, who's struggling with a little bit of understeer. Oh, look, Enrico Benoldi spun, and there's still Clivio Piccioni as well. He's stuck it in there, and the bonnet flies open on Michael Rossi's Corvette, and 3 cars all getting caught up.
Safety car will no doubt once again be deployed literally at the restart after a 5-lap safety car intervention.
And the very worst thing you could ever possibly wish for Michael Rossi, suddenly he can see the track, suddenly he can see the carbon fibre, and the bonnet flies open and he has nowhere to go but to slam on the brakes. But Piccioni getting stuck in there and getting caught up in the mess. Enrique Benoldi getting caught up in the mess as well, and before all of that, a stop and go penalty for Christopher Nygaard, gets demoted down the field a bit for a pit window infringement. So he moved up during the pit stop window and has now had to move back down again. Lucas Luhr leads from Alex Muller, and now the Andy Zuber Corvette is up to 3rd place. So it's the 1-2-3 back as it was, John. 1-2-3.
24 hours ago.
Yes, quite. The same cars being involved, but this time around it's the Nissan and Lucas Luhr that is out in front, and he has a lead of 0.6 of a second over Alex Muller, who's 0.4 of a second clear of Andy Zuber. Clivio Piccioni runs in 3rd place, 4th place I should say at the moment. Andrea Piccini, it was that Aston Martin that got caught up in the carnage there, and the championship leaders then moving further down the field, if indeed they're still going at all.
That damage to the rear, then Nissan can't quite get a view of it, but certainly I'm surprised we don't have a safety car. The corner workers did a great job getting those 2 cars that were damaged and one that was also tagged clearly out of the way. There we see the Ford coming into the pits to the left front of the car, all the damage to the bodywork and to the front wing.
Yep, can't get a close look up, but it seems fairly terminal because no one's in any great hurry other than our cameraman to get down there and have a look.
And that's Maxime Martin's car, so it's been hit in the side, in the front, and goodness knows where else.
Yes, not a happy man about it. Neither, I would imagine, is Michael Rossi as well. And you can see the stricken DKR Engineering Corvette just on the entry into Copse.
Yes, I don't know what happened. They all bunched up coming through Luffield. It looked like the initial contact occurred, and then everybody was just so close behind, nowhere to go, and contact was the consequence. None of that was deliberate or intentional. That would be, in my view, a racing incident, unlike the one we've been analysing for the last 10 minutes, which looked to me like it was careless, and that's being generous.
Yeah, it's been very generous. I think if you were Richard Westbrook, you'd have probably said a bit more, but there were children in the garage, John.
Indeed, but I have to say, Richard, look at the footage. You did make a move. Whether he shut the door on you or not, the point is you weren't sufficiently far alongside the car to claim the corner as yours.
It is a racetrack and place for retribution. That's the question that needs to be asked now as we see a replay of the lead changing hands. This was Alex Muller overtaking Lucas Luhr. There, the number 3 car, Clivio Piccioni, trying to get in on the act, but in doing so, Piccioni lost an awful lot of track position and then just carnage, John.
Yeah, the Nissan, the Corvette, and one of the Astons involved in that. There we had another view of it. Is that, yeah, that's the point. That's where the contact occurred with the Corvette. You see the Nissan already way out to the right of the exit of Luffield, and the Aston somewhere, well, can't quite make out the picture, but it's going relatively slowly as the Corvette makes its way down the grass all the way down to safety at Copse Corner.
Yeah, we saw Piccini, didn't we, on the left-hand side of the screen, just disappearing off towards the BRDC clubhouse, I think it was. There, car number 20, Enrico Benoldi, still going, and has Marcus Paltala ahead of him.
So he ought to make some progress on the Ford, but dropping all the way back to 9th place, effectively running in last position of this race, which has been decimated by 2 incidents, with the waved yellow flag yet again. That's in recognition of the Corvette at the entry into Copse Corner. So no overtaking allowed with a waved yellow flag at that part of the circuit.
There's a bit of debris to watch out for as well on the track, just coming through Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight. So I wonder if that's left over from the Westbrook and Mucker incident. I'm not quite sure. The stewards are going to be here until the wee small hours of this race because they've got that crash to investigate as well. Let's hear Darren Turner's side of things now. He's with Haley.
Darren, we just spoke to an extremely disappointed Richard Westbrook. What type of move was that from Stefan?
Well, I mean, obviously the move from Richard wasn't great on the a few corners before, and we got taken out by the Nissans yesterday, and then taken out again in the race with the Nissan then in that corner. But as Stefan was coming past, obviously massively frustrated, venting a lot of anger, and I certainly don't think it was intentional on Stefan in the contact, but I think he wanted to make his point clear that it's getting frustrating being taken out, and it's obviously a mistake by Stefan, and I've spoken briefly with him, and he's devastated. It wasn't his intention. So now we got two wrecked cars again. So a very frustrating weekend, not just for us, but for probably the Nissan guys as well. So it's very unfortunate.
Thanks, Darren.
Whether it was intentional or not, you have to ask the question: why was Stefan Mucker driving so close? He didn't need to be. He can sort anything out in the paddock afterwards, John, when there's an awful lot less wreckage to try and repair.
He's got a form card for doing this. It's not the first time here at Silverstone it's happened on a number of occasions, and I talked to the race leader here, Lucas Luhr, and both German drivers, Stefan Mucker and Lucas Luhr, no love lost between them. So there is a bit of history there with Stefan Mucker. I still feel that it was a misjudgment, but what I think he was doing, those lovely big door mirrors on the Nissan, I think he wanted to swipe one of those and make a point with Richard Westbrook. But he was wrong in doing that. He was wrong in trying to seek some form of retribution at speed. Not only was he putting Richard Westbrook into danger as well as himself, there could have been spectators at that part of the racetrack who could have been injured by bits of bodywork or whatever flying all around that area of the racetrack.
Heads off to Le Mans for the 24-hour race to Stefan Mucker next week. At this rate, he'll be lucky to complete 24 minutes, quite frankly. 16 minutes to go here, and Lucas Luhr has the race lead by half a minute from Alex Muller in the one Aston Martin young driver car that's still going. I say half a minute or half a second?
I said half a second.
Should be half a second, John. Getting carried away here. 1.4 seconds the difference between first and third. Andy Zuber at the moment just dropping back a couple of tenths a lap per lap, it seems. Running in fourth place, Clivio Piccioni. And at the moment, Piccioni lapping on a par with that Corvette. So 1, 2, 3 separated now by 1.9 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4 separated by 4 seconds, and still spots of rain on our camera lenses, but nothing, John, to change the nature of the track. It's still a dry track now.
Oh yes, it is. The track, I mean, that amount of rain is minuscule. It'll not have any significant bearing. Once you start to see tyre tracks on a surface where it is sufficiently wet to do so, then you're in trouble, and that's when the wet weather, or the dry weather slick tyre becomes a real liability. Some drivers will try and drive through it in the belief that it's going to pass through quickly. But watching Alex Muller, he closes up to the back of the Lucas Luhr Nissan in some parts of the circuit. I mean, it's 0.8 of a second the last time they came across start-finish line, but as they go across the former start-finish line here at exit of Woodcote Corner, it looks to be, well, fractionally less than 0.8 of a second.
Just to let you know as well, the stewards also having a look at what might be an unsafe release after the pit stops for David Brabham's sumo-powered Nissan, and also Mark Henrici's Ford GT, and also the number 47 Michael Rossi's Corvette. But that's not really going to affect the race as it stands. And someone doesn't want to come back to the paddock too quickly, John. I wonder why.
Well, I think they're a long way from the paddock. They're over at Luffield, and you're about as far from the new facility, the new Silverstone wing, as you can be at Silverstone. Again, small amount of rain just dropping. I mean, it's not, as I say, significant, but it's something that drivers will sense on the windscreen of their cars. They don't want to now use their wipers, because with the amount of road grime and rubber that's on the racetrack, you start putting on your wipers, you get a lovely white emulsion, and then you will not see a thing.
Yes, it's like that feeling you get when you put your wipers on down the motorway and realise that you haven't got any juice left in the water tank, and you're trying to squint through the window. Not that that would ever happen, of course, but squinting now through our eyes, I can see that Alex Muller has got an awful lot closer in the last few corners.
Way quicker through Abbey, picked up a bunch of time, picked up over half a second. as they come up into the loop and now exit out of the loop through Aintree. The Aston Martin, clearly the quicker of the two cars in that high-speed Abbey corner.
Absolutely, but is it quick enough down the Wellington straight to try and make a move under braking? The answer being no, but that's a lock-up there from Lucas Luhr, and I wonder, are his Michelin tyres just starting to go off a little bit here, and are we seeing the Aston Martin a little kinder on its tyres than the Nissan, starting to become a force? We'll find out in a few corners' time.
Well, we've got 12 and a bit minutes remaining, and this is a challenge coming from Alex Müller on Lucas Luhr and the Nissan, and clearly, to me, in the high-speed corner, the advantage goes to the Aston Martin, where it comes down to sheer out-and-out grunt and ability to drag the car out of the corner. Probably the Nissan's got enough to keep his advantage, but that advantage was 0.8 of a second 1 lap ago. It's now down to half a second, and that was when they came across the start-finish line almost a lap ago.
Says this is the home of motorsport, Lucas Luhr, not just the home of British motorsport. Never driven here before. I've been really impressed with him so far this weekend, though, given that he's not actually been out on this track before. A podium and a win on the cards if he can hang on against Alex Müller.
Little mistake from Müller, just overrunning into Stowe Corner, trying to close the gap down. The Nissan's pulled it out marginally on this lap. Lucas Luhr has responded to that pressure from Alex Müller. Let's check the time out. It was half a second when they came across the start-finish line. So the Nissan crosses the line now. The Aston, the gap is a tenth of a second greater, 0.653 of a second.
And he's got to just be careful, Alex Müller, not to overdrive, as you say there, John. If those tyres are starting to go off on the Nissan, if Lucas Luhr is making the odd mistake, then the opportunity is going to come, especially on this part of the circuit, past Village and into the loop and now onto the Wellington straight. But he's just got to bide his time, and remember, he's got 11 minutes and 20 seconds in which to try and win this race. He doesn't have to do it in the next 15.
No, and this is really where the character of a racing driver comes to the fore. Lucas Luhr is under pressure. How do you deal with that? Some drivers just simply don't deal with it, they just go to pieces. Lucas Luhr has done a lot of racing throughout the world, primarily in sports and GT cars. He knows what pressure is and he knows how to respond to it.
And he's a lot closer now coming through Luffield than he has been on previous laps, taking a slightly tighter line as he now goes through Woodcote. Used to, of course, be the final corner here. Would he have packed grandstands on a normal afternoon, but now the centre of attention very much down at Abbey as Lucas Luhr goes through, still in the lead. Let's hear from his teammate Michael Crum. He's with Haley.
Michael, can Lucas fight off the Aston Martin?
Certainly hope so. I mean, I'm dying 1,000 tests here. This is much worse than driving myself. Maybe I should stop watching. I really hope he can do it to the end, but it's. I think the races are too long.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, he wants to shorten it by about 15 minutes, I think.
Well, certainly he won't want to stop watching his hand if he's going to stop watching, because the gap, you can see, is almost covered by almost the length of one of these cars. The Nissan, again, using that sort of horsepower and the ability to drag the relatively unaerodynamic body shape ahead of the more slippery Aston Martin. But the Aston Martin does have the advantage when it comes to the high-speed corners. Coming down now into Vale, there's probably not a great deal of difference, and on acceleration out of club, the Nissan will pull it away a little bit, but watch how much the Aston then pulls back as it goes through Abbey in that sequence of corners up to the loop.
And it's still that 0.6 of a second between first and second here. The Corvette is starting to get a little bit closer as well, and Andy Zuber's starting to just pile on the pressure a little bit for Alex Müller. He's going to have to watch out. Maybe in a couple of laps time that Corvette could be within a distance to strike as we go through the left-hander into the loop now, which is a wonderful part of the track, promoting a little bit of overtaking. Certainly 75 kilometres an hour. They exit out of the loop and then they can get up to top speed. If the Nissan can survive through the loop, then it should be pretty okay for the rest of the lap.
Yes, because the Nissan, once it sees the straight parts of the racetrack, it's up and gone. You can see it able to pull away from the Aston, but under cornering back into a low speed part of the track. Lucas Luhr is just being very cautious on those tires. He's not trying to, or he's not responding to Alex Müller's pressure. He's driving his own race. He knows that he's got enough in hand. As long as he doesn't make a misjudgment on braking or entering a corner to open up the opportunity to the Aston, then I believe Lucas Luhr will take victory here with 8.5 minutes remaining.
But will Alex Müller hang on to second place? Because that Corvette I maintain, is starting to get ever closer. He's lapping a couple of tenths, 3/10 of a second faster is Andy Zuber than Alex Muller. Muller concentrating on trying to get past the Nissan, maybe feeling the Nissan's holding him up just a touch, but if he is, it's allowing that Corvette to get in on the action, and there you can see all three cars together, the JR Motorsports Nissan, the young driver Aston Martin, and the Exim Bank Team China Corvette. 1, 2 and 3 down the hangar straight and into Stowe they go.
Again, it's a strange exit out of Stowe. I look at the Aston Martin. Alex Miller allows the car to run a little bit wider than Lucas Luhr does with the Nissan. I don't think he's getting any advantage out of that particular corner, as opposed to where he will get an advantage just in a few seconds' time.
So the gap that was 6/10 of a second is now 4/10 of a second between first and second, and actually Andy Zuber just lost a little bit towards the end of that lap. Now much closer, the young driver Aston Martin going through Abbey, and now the little kink at Village. Has he got close enough to tie down the inside? No, but he's still going to keep gaining and gaining as through the loop they go. There might be a gap on the inside. No, a lock-up from Lucas Luhr. Luhr could be a sitting duck now coming out of the Village. He might, the loop I should say, he might just have lost a bit of traction there. Can the Aston Martin down the Wellington Straight force its way up into the lead?
The momentum switched from the Nissan to the Aston Martin, but now it's neutralised. That little lock-up put the Aston, another lock-up coming into Luffield. So maybe the cool, calm, collected Lucas Luhr that I suspected would win this race is now beginning to react. He's not only seeing the Aston Martin in his mirrors, he realises that Andy Zuber in the Corvette is going to make this a three-way battle to victory.
He shouldn't worry about Zuber just yet. He's clear enough ahead of the third place car, but you're right, John, you know, you get overtaken. It's like a bus in these parts. You wait for it and you think it's going to come, and then suddenly two come all at once.
I look at the tension in the pit lane. Oh, suddenly she realises the camera's on her. But it is tension in these three respective garages, Nissan, Aston Martin and Corvette. And what I thought was going to be a relatively straightforward drive for Lucas Luhr is going to turn into a real thriller with 6 minutes remaining.
Far from straightforward, it has to be said, as down the hangar straight we go once more. That is almost hands in the praying position on a Sunday afternoon.
It certainly is, and tension, as I mentioned, all up and down the pit lane, but primarily looking at this battle for the Tourist Trophy. Remember, the most prestigious trophy, in my opinion, at a motor race, and going back to 1905.
The chance to put your name alongside the likes of Sterling Moss and Innes Ireland and Graham Hill as well, and Jamie Campbell Walter, of course, and Warren Hughes, who lifted the Tourist Trophy last year. The gap now down to 3/10 of a second. He's gained on this lap as Alex Muller. Now into Abbey we go.
Look at the break the Nissan's got to make to get into Abbey, and then the run again, the Aston closer, but he's got to be careful. He's going to have one shot to go down the inside. He isn't close enough at this moment, and we've got a spinner coming on to the pit straight. Well, it's a blow-up.
It's a blow-up from the allinkle.com Lamborghini, and there's flames as well coming out of the back of that Lamborghini, and I think that was Dominic Schwager, was it? Just pulling over to one side. Yes, it was Dominic Schwager. So flames from the back of that Lamborghini. That'll keep the crowd warm on this chilly Sunday afternoon, but he might want to get out as soon as he can.
Well, not just get out, he's got to look for a fire marshal. Drivers often find the fire station when they've got a problem. That, I think, is a liquid fire, but again, the battle at the front, closer again.
Oh, by a matter of metres, the two are separated. Lucas Luhr in the Nissan, Alex Muller now in the young driver Aston Martin. Down the main straight, you can barely see, such as the cloud of smoke coming from that Lamborghini. Down the back straight, which used to be the main straight, you can't see much difference between the two cars either. Through Copse they go. The Nissan ahead of the Aston Martin, with the Corvette in third place at the moment, and it's going to be all action for the next couple of laps until the checkered flag starts to fly, as finally they get a fire extinguisher.
It's the driver who has the fire extinguisher. He's grabbed the extinguisher from one of the marshals, and it's been primarily a fuel or oil fire. Nevertheless, let's get back to this battle down Hangar Straight. 4 minutes remaining, the best part of 2 laps to go.
Absolutely fantastic end to this race. But Thomas Enger, how's he pacing around wondering about his teammate? Let's hear
Thomas,
from him.
4 minutes to go. I can feel your heart from here pounding out of your chest.
Well, I feel worse than before the start of the race. It's really thrilling end of the race. Great battle. It is clean battle. I can see the Nissan is going a few times over the white line, So I hope the race director is taking an eye on it, but Alex is really close right now. So I'm really wishing that he's going to have a try like now.
Oh, he has had a go. Right down the inside into the first part of the loop. Now as they come to the left-hand hairpin, Moore locks up once again from Lucas Luhr. Can that Aston Martin just nose itself alongside? Because that's all it's got to do. But by a matter of 2 or 3 metres, it's what it just can't quite do.
I think that was Alex Muller's best opportunity. He sprung the surprise. A big lock-up again, coming into the rear brake, and the Nissan really being problematic now. So locking up, going into Brooklands, round Luffield. So we've got 1 lap after the completion of this lap for the outcome of a great battle between Nissan and Aston.
And that Lamborghini is going to stay in place at Abbey at turn 1. There'll be yellow flags there. So that first part of Abbey, no overtaking.
Not only that, you're meant to slow down. You're meant to be slightly slower than your previous or your best lap or speed through that particular section of the circuit, which is under yellow flag. And if you exceed that, then you will have a penalty.
Not quite sure in this situation anyone is going to slow down too much, but maybe they just lift off the throttle a little bit, John.
I mean, as long as you don't go through quicker than your previous fastest time.
So 2 minutes just over to go here. They'll complete this lap and then we'll be on to one more final lap. So that might just be one more opportunity that Alex Muller has got to try and get past Lucas Luhr, who has been battling away since he retook the lead, 3 corners after Muller had got his nose out in front. And this has been going on now for the best part of 8 or 9 laps. It's been a fantastic duel between the German drivers here, and Lucas Luhr on his first visit to Silverstone exits the final corner and starts what will probably be the final lap. They've both gone over the white lines. Thomas Enger, your teammate's doing it just as much. Now lifting off a little bit through Abbey, and that car, that young driver Aston, has spent no closer than this throughout the last 5 or 6 laps. He'll dive down the inside. He's got the inside line. They almost come to grief. Now the Nissan can try and dive down the inside line, but he's onto the grass. Anger is willing his teammate on. But look at the Corvette round the outside. The Corvette once again on the action. Lucas Luhr lost the lead, regained the lead, kept the Corvette at bay, and might just now be on his way to the checkered flag.
Lucas Luhr had the room on the outside to give them both space, and he was also able to use track position when it came to going through the loop, so he had the advantage swing back to him. And the man that might have been the biggest beneficiary, Andy Zuber, he was watching this thinking, are these 2 cars going to take each other out? Am I going to be standing in the winner's podium?
The answer, I think, no for Andy Zuber. But is there one more move, maybe, into Vale that Alex Muller has left up his sleeve?
Well, forget into Cop, not close enough. Next possibility will be down at the end of the straight into Stowe. Can't get it done there, then your final chance will be close your eyes and just go past your normal braking zone and use the Nissan. Within fairness and within a racing context, make that little bit of contact. That's all I can see. But the Nissan slow through the middle of Beckett's. It's got to be here that Muller picks up the slipstream from the Nissan. It's a big car. It draws you behind it. But whether he's going to be in position, it's easy to defend down the straight.
Has to be said though, John, maybe the sister car drivers of JR Motorsports and young driver Aston Martin might like to look at this battle again and see how you can do it fairly and cleanly with just the odd bit of contact. Now, going into Vale, this is going to be the last chance for Alex Muller. Lucas Luhr has it covered, nicely has it covered. Muller late under braking, but closes up to within a metre. Now, might get some better traction out of the final corner, but the start-finish line comes up really fast on you, and it's a win and the Tourist Trophy for Lucas Luhr and Michael Krum. The German pairing in the Nissan take the checkered flag and take the honours here ahead of Alex Muller and Thomas Enger, who started from pole and put up a cracking fight all the way to the line to come home second. Andy Zuber and Mike Heserman once again having to settle for 3rd place. What a thrilling, fantastic hours racing that was.
Well, there's a perfect example of 2 professional drivers driving each other almost to the limits of their ability, let alone the limits of their respective cars. There was the smallest amount of contact on the last lap. That is within the rules of being fair and whatever. So Lucas Luhr, pressure all the way from the minute he stepped into the car after Michael Krum handed it over to him. They got the lead in that pit stop, and Lucas Luhr did a fantastic job for Nissan here this afternoon to lift the Tourist Trophy.
The championship race, and 25 points then going to Lucas Luhr from Alex Muller and Thomas Enger. Andy Zuber and Mike Hesselman coming home in third. The rest of the placings, well, fourth place went to the Hexus Aston Martin of Clivio Piccioni and Steph Dusseldorp, and then fifth place went to Marcus Winkelhock and Mark Bassenge in the one remaining allinkle.com Lamborghini, still running at the end of the race. Sixth place went to Baz Linders and Mark Henrici in the Ford GT. Seventh place went to Enrique Benaldi and Mark Hughes in the Sumo Powered Nissan. Eighth place went to the Belgian racing car of Antoine Leclerc and Marcus Paltala. Ninth place went to their sister car, the teammates Vanina Ix and Christopher Nygaard. And 10th place, because it was 3 laps down, but the best of the rest that didn't finish goes to Dominic Schwager and Nicky Pastorelli. Their car literally on fire this afternoon, John. I have to say, Michael Crum and Lucas Luhr pretty hot as well.
Well, they've done their championship trail a power of good. They've picked up 25 points. That puts them on 70 without going through the entire points haul for the rest of the field. They are certainly now way up from where they were. They were previously running joint fourth in the championship, and well, I think this victory is sweet, not just simply for the win, but for what it will have done, not just to even Nissan's championship chances, but to Lucas Luhr and Michael Crum.
Well, you look as well at the leaders at the start of the championship race, Christian Hohenadel and his teammate Andrea Piccini, out of the race, no points, got caught up in the chaos that ensued at Luffield after the restart. It's been a very disappointing weekend for them, and the Hexus Aston Martin on the track that the Aston Martin has been good at, but to emerge pointless here from Silverstone, they'll consider that a really bleak weekend.
Well, I think in fact you'll see that Lucas Luhr and Michael Crum are in fact now the driver pairing in the Nissan that is leading that championship.
I was just waiting for you to do the maths, quite frankly, on that one. Thank you very much, Mr. Watson, for counting it all up. I'll have the table in a moment. Already back in Parc Fermé. Our runners-up this afternoon did pretty much everything he could. Alex Muller, and on the last lap managed to get that car, that's a young driver Aston Martin ahead. And I just thought when the Nissan went onto the grass, that's it, he's going to do it here. But somehow Lucas Luhr got the traction coming off the dirt and the dust and managed to get past.
Yeah, I mean, it's called racecraft, something that we don't get to see in all forms of motor racing as often as you like, and you can call it motor overtaking, but we saw there is what I would call motor racing.
You see, is there any connection, do you think, between what Lucas Luhr did this afternoon and the fact that his teammate Michael Crum just brought a book out on the art of driving? Maybe he's had a sneak preview of a copy,
well,
and that's where it's come from.
And I think you might see Lucas Luhr write a book about the art of defensive motor racing.
Well, either way, he's going to drive straight into Parc Fermé and into the number 1 spot and get out a race winner here, Lucas Luhr. Another race victory for him and for Michael Crum this season. They, of course, took the championship race at Portimao in the Algarve. Big hugs and pats on the back all round down at JR Motorsports.
Yeah, a very, very impressive drive from Lucas Luhr. And he had to resist the Aston Martin for the entire stint. Pressure all the time, couldn't afford to make the smallest error. And he's just got that ability, apart from anything else, he understands what it takes to get the job done.
And did you hear that? The crew talking to Lucas Luhr and saying, did you see him? He nearly had a heart attack. I'm not surprised. I think a lot of people nearly had a heart attack. And well, the stewards, I'm sure, will have a very late night trying to pick the bones out of some of the incidents we've seen here this afternoon. Some of them a little bit unsavoury, but it has to be said, through it all, Lucas Luhr, Michael Crum, Thomas Enger and Alex Muller put up a thrilling duel for the victory here. And the Corvette, the Exim Bank Team China Corvette, coming home in third place, John, got leapfrogged in the pit stops, managed to make its way up through the field, but had a fairly dull race by comparison. Let's hear from the winners, though, with Hayley.
Congratulations, Lucas. What a race that was for us to watch. How was it for you to take part in?
I think I older 5 years. I don't know if you can see the wrinkles already.
Well, me too.
But the boys in the pits, they did just an amazing job. Thanks to JM, thanks for Nissan for providing us the GTI. It was so fantastic. we had two different concepts. You know, in the first couple of corners he was quicker, I was quicker. The last part of the circuit, I'm absolutely happy. And it's very good for JIM because we have so many friends, family, sponsors here. So to give them a victory here and to all our boys, I'm really happy. Thanks to Michael, he did a fantastic job in the beginning, just keeps there with the Aston. And now we're gonna drink some champagne.
Michael, you and Lucas continue to be a successful pairing for JRM.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. I mean, I have to say, Lucas did an incredible job today. It's not only in the pit stop. I mean, the way he had to defend and he was battling and keeping the lead, getting back the lead. It was so exciting. I mean, it was horrible for me to watch from the pits. I don't want to watch again. I think the race was too long. They should have shortened it. It was really horrible for me to watch. But I think he did an amazing job. And really, thanks to Lucas, we won that today.
Thank you.
Well, that's the thing about this form of motorsport, the GT1 Championship, John. You're only as good as your teammate. You are the sum of all parts, aren't you, for a driver?
Oh, very much so, and that's part of the skill in a team of putting together pairings that are complementary to each other.
So let's hear from some complimentary runners-up with Haley.
Congratulations, Alex. How frustrating. It looked like you could have taken the win, but at least you're finishing on the podium.
Yeah, well, of course, first of all, thanks to the guys. They provide us with a good car after the discussion we had yesterday after the qualifying race was the rear wing Pro Drive Aston Martin AMR was hanging in there and get us out. So we were able to start from pole today. Thomas did a really good start, a good first stint, and after the pit stop we exit the pit second, and I tried everything you saw on the track to pass Lucas, but I think we had a nice and fair fight. So they won and we finished second. Next race.
And Thomas, congratulations. It's great to see you back on the podium.
Yeah, I really enjoy the race. First of all, I was battling with Michael, and he was pushing really hard, and it was always within 1 second the gap between us. And then after the pit stop, I really enjoyed the battle between Alex and Lucas. So I think for the spectators, it was a great battle. We came out of it a little worse, but on the other hand, second place is a great result after the disappointment 2 races we had before.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thomas Enger, who this time last year almost had the Tourist Trophy. He got excluded by the stewards, and now he has almost had the Tourist Trophy as well, but a runner-up for him. And we mentioned the Corvette, Mike Heserman and Andy Zuber coming home in 3rd place for the 2nd time this weekend. They're with Haley as well.
Congratulations, guys. Andy, good to be back.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I was hoping that the 2 guys in front of me, they maybe, they crash a little bit or they try too much, but I tried everything, but our top speed is not good enough. But the car was good in the end. The team did a great job. Mike did a great start, so I'm happy.
Thank you, guys.
And off to the podium they go. They know their way up there, as do Enger and Muller, of course, and Krum and Lur. The top 3 from yesterday are the top 3 again, but in different order this time around. Nissan winning from Aston Martin and Corvette. The gap only 0.2 of a second as the first 2 crossed the line. Really, really close racing here at Silverstone. Step Dusseldorp and Livio Piccioni, as I mentioned, coming home 4th. Bass Engine Winkelhock taking some points that Lamborghini might not have thought was there at the start of the weekend. Well done to Warren Hughes and Enrique Bernoldi. After a bad start from Hughes, Bernoldi got them up to 7th place once again. And points as well for the Belgian racing team with Iggs and Nygaard and Pastorelli and Schwager in the other Lamborghini, 3 laps down but finishing in the points. Meanwhile, Hohenadel and Pacini, the championship leaders, pointless. Engelbert and Rossi, pointless. Mucker and Turner, Westbrook and Dumbreck. Well, Mucker and Westbrook, that fight, absolutely pointless. And I wonder what the stewards are going to say about that. We'll keep you updated, of course, on GT1 World with all the news. But for now, John, here's our 3rd place duo from the Exim Bank Team China, Mike Heserman and Andreas Zuber. Round of applause for Thomas Enger and Alex Muller. And our winners to come forth now and receive a trophy that we picked up from the Pall Mall RAC Club on Friday, delivered to Silverstone, awaiting for a further winner.
Yeah, and I think a very worthy driving partnership taking up the Tourist Trophy. Lucas Luhr, who had to defend throughout his stint, and a great opening stint by Michael Krum, complemented by superb pit stop work by the JMR race team.
German national anthem playing out for our race winners, and for the second time in 12 months it will be a Nissan team getting their hands on the RAC Tourist Trophy. Richard Phillips, the managing director of Silverstone Circus, dishing out the trophies. Team manager James Rumsey there already opening the champagne.
You can't contain the man. He's so pleased, because not only have Nissan won, they've won the Tourist Trophy, certainly the most prestigious British motorsport award that a team can pick up, and I have no doubt that it will be displayed with great pride along with many more of the trophies.
And there it is, right in the middle. That's a fine trophy on the podium. And Ben Cousins, the RAC chairman of motorsport activities, with his own mementos to give out to our drivers here as well. And it's good to see the RAC club getting involved in this GT1 meeting.
Absolutely. I mean, the RAC is fundamental to British motorsport, and they are the licensing authority of all British motorsport, be it GT1 or whatever.
He's a strong man, is Ben Cousins, lifting up that trophy. Look, it takes two of them there to take it off his hands.
No, it is a heavy, it's a very, very solid trophy. It's I mean, literally, it's the best part of 100 years old.
1905, first competed for and won on that occasion by John Napier. In 2011, it is Krum and it is Lure that take the silverware. And after one last photo in front of the fans here at Silverstone, and a very noisy collection down in front of the podium, the first time this podium has been used, the new pit and paddock complex, we can get it doused in champagne and really start the celebrations for JRM Motorsport. And you think the girls would wear trainers so they can get off the podium a bit faster?
Oh, they love it, really. It's all part of it. James Rumsey's drunk too much, but there's none left in the bottle display, but he gets a bottle stuffed down his neck. Thomas Enger decides that's our way of saying congratulations, James, on a great victory after a great battle between two outstanding drivers and very differing teams.
So one half of the garage smiles because they picked up a championship win for Richard Westbrook and Peter Dumbreck. The other part of the JRM Motorsport outfit, well, they will take some consoling, it has to be said, whether Westbrook started it with a clumsy move or not. Stefan Mucker then finished off the incident with what seemed to me to be a red mist that needs to quickly blow over, or it's going to damage his career for good. That was an appalling thing to do, just to drive into another driver there.
Well, as I mentioned, I don't think he deliberately set about to do what he ended up doing. I think he decided, I'm going to take your wing mirrors off or take your door handles off. That's his mentality. This time it will haunt him, and he will suffer quite substantially, I believe, as a consequence of that particular action.
The new pits and paddock complex has been used for the first time here at Silverstone this weekend. The BRDC modernising this circuit and giving us a structure in the UK to be proud of. But was it a race to be proud of? Well, for some, certainly. There we had the battle for the lead on the very last lap. Lucas Lure, when he got onto the grass, I thought that was it, but no, he had the inside line, and despite locking up, managed to keep that place.
It just seemed that Alex Miller couldn't carry the momentum, and Nissan took victory.
It's been a great day for Nissan and Krum and Lure. Goodbye.